I guess so.
It's being taped
Yeah.
on TV. I don't have that, do we?
It's coming. The time is 5:30 p.m. on Monday, August 7th, and I'd like to call this work session to order. First on our agenda are city updates. So Ms. Solano, please take it away.
Thank you, Madam Chair, City Council, Mayor Gratis. So I have a few updates, and I'm going to turn it over to the mayor this evening to close out the updates. But the first is, now that we hit in August, there's some calendar planning to talk with council about for your direction. The City State Fair Parade Float Committee met for the first time this last Friday to put the parade floats together for both the State Fair Parade on Saturday, August 26th, and the Fiesta Day Parade on Sunday, September the 3rd. And if any of councilors would like to ride on the float, would you maybe shoot me a quick email or call in the next week or so? They were wanting to extend an invitation to the Mayor's Youth Council to be a part of the props on the float this year too, but they were probably talking about 2 or 3 students, so everybody fits that wants to ride. So that's the first request. And the second, since it is August, we were looking at the calendar in the mayor's office today with respect to work sessions and plans. And on Monday, August the 28th, we have a slight time overlap of perhaps a conflict. It is the Kicking Cancer event at the Colorado State Fair that runs from 4 until 7. And I think 3 of you and the mayor are already reserved for that event. And we also have a few of, looking at the work session, a few presentations that we can move easily. And so with council's direction, we can cancel the work session and then just start with a 7 o'clock meeting if that helps your calendars attend the event. Or you get, just a note to return for a work session by 5:30, particular, Madam Chair Martinez. It would be you having to return. Those are the updates with the schedule conflict. And let me turn my page here. I have one more update. I did speak with PCC, Dean Jenny Sherman and Amanda Coram, who coordinates the corporate college. When they report later this evening to council, you asked if we would gather the information with respect to HSPPR's request for a partnership in a training program of vet assistants or vet techs or that entry level. And we do have that information, but I'll wait for both of them and add that to PCC's presentation this evening. And that's all the information updates I have, and the mayor has a few more to add.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the City Council, I just want to update you on a couple of things. Number one, I want to make sure you're aware of the fact that our CompStat numbers that we get from the police department show that for last week, the CompStat numbers, the Part 1 crimes were down 10% over what they were the year before, which is good news. The only 2 that were up were auto thefts, and there was 1 additional homicide over last year. But overall, Type 1 crimes, those serious crimes, sexual assault, armed robbery, armed batteries, those were down 10%. But we've obviously had a problem, and if you read the paper this morning, I want to update you on the conversations I've had with the chief with respect to the park situation and minors in the park after 10 p.m. We have a curfew in the parks at 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. The parks are closed. People are not allowed to be in them. The chief and I have had conversations last week, and they started this weekend taking a hard look at those curfews, and to the extent they have the officers available to do so, they're really going to be stringent on enforcing the curfews, not just in the park, but in the city as well. There's a general curfew for minors, unaccompanied minors, of 11 p.m. during the week and midnight on Friday and Saturday nights. There's absolutely no reason for unaccompanied kids to be out after that time, especially in this day and age when they've all got guns, it seems like, and that's the method they choose to settle their disputes. So I've asked the chief to take a serious look at enforcing the curfews. With respect to City Park, we're also going to install license plate readers at the entrances and the exits to those to City Park. These will help us identify cars that are in the park at the time that incidents happen, so that we can perhaps get a leg up very quickly in terms of investigating those crimes and getting those crimes solved. So that's going to take place just as soon as our IT department can get those done. Finally, over the last couple of months, I've been to Chihuahua, Mexico with Councilor Atencio, been to Albuquerque, New Mexico 2 weeks ago with Chief Knoller and others from the city of Pueblo, looking at their real-time crime centers. We've made the decision that we're going to put a real-time crime center in the city of Pueblo that will help us investigate and solve crimes very quickly. It will include what was called a shot spotter listening system that will be able to identify within 42 square feet where a gun is discharged, so that officers can respond there, and if they're shell casings, they can pick up those shell casings. One of the things they reported in Albuquerque was that about 60% of the gunshots in Albuquerque were not being reported. They instituted this shot spotter system, and they were actually able to save a life because the system heard a gunshot. The police responded. They get notified on their cell phone about the location where a gunfire takes place. They responded to that, and there was a person that was bleeding out. They fortunately got there early enough where they didn't bleed to death, but nobody called 911 to report that shooting. So we're going to set that up here. That will involve the shot spotter, as I indicated. It will involve license plate readers. It'll involve the addition of 4 civilian crime analysts that will work on this system, that will basically be notified at the same time the call comes into the 911 center. And they can start investigating the address, the shot spotter, those kind of things, and provide information to the officers before they actually arrive on the scene about the history of that address, you know, what kind of calls they've been to there before, so that they have a little additional information. And as we have access to and add more cameras in the city, those will be incorporated into the real-time crime center. So these are things that are working in Chihuahua. They're working in Albuquerque. Albuquerque spent $70 million on theirs. We estimate that the cost to set it up for the first year will be $1.5 million. We intend to do that just as quickly as we can, as soon as we can get that technology here. And for the first year at least, it'll be paid for out of salary savings in the police department because of the problems you obviously know we've had hiring police officers. So that's how we intend to pay for it the first year. And then you'll see that in the budget that's submitted to the council as we get closer to the end of the year. Just wanted to brief you on that. Let you know that we think those will be important measures to take to keep crime going in the right direction here in terms of on a downward trend, notwithstanding the fact that we remain short of police officers, but we're going to try to use technology to enhance the officers that we have. So that concludes my report. Happy to answer any questions. Well, one more thing. Tomorrow I'm going to Sacramento, California, with the Colorado Department of Human Services. I've been invited to go with, I think, 11 or 12 other people to hear a report from the state of California to the legislature there about a new program they have there, a new law that was passed last fall called the CARES Act, which basically is a comprehensive mental health treatment program for homeless individuals that are mentally ill. So Colorado has decided to go out there, listen to this report, talk to those people that have implemented this. They've invited me to go so that we can try to come up with some solutions, because in Pueblo, at least, the #1 condition of the homeless people here is mental illness. And we've got to get our handle on that if we're going to make a dent in the homeless problem here. So I'm hopeful that we'll get some information that we can bring back, and if not to Pueblo, at least to the state of Colorado. It took legislation on a statewide level there to set up this special procedure, but it requires people who are mentally ill to get care for their mental illness that puts them back in touch with reality. So that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you for those updates. What questions are there from council? Councilor Flores.
Mayor, at one time, both Mineral Palace Park and I think City Park had gates where you would actually shut both sides. I guess there's two ways of getting, there might be three at Mineral Palace, but is that something that we could do, or is this probably a traffic?
Yep, we have
issue?
talked about it. Goodnight Avenue is a public street, so we can't really close that off. And the police department has advised that it wouldn't be wise to close the parks off and not allow access. We lock the gates, the bad guys get in, but we can't get in after them. You know, that's basically what it amounts to. So we don't think it makes sense to put gates on the parks to keep people from entering, because it would just hinder the police department's ability to respond when there's an incident that has to be responded to in the parks.
Thank you. That makes sense.
I would like to schedule a work session for the real-time crime data. I think it's a larger conversation than just including it in city updates. So if we can get a work session scheduled for that, I know I have a lot of questions just hearing that briefly. So, Councilor Graham?
Oh, Ms. Solano, I just wanted to see if you had an update on the spreadsheet for the 3 homelessness providers we met about.
I do. I have it complete, and the information that was provided to council in an executive session, you should receive an email tomorrow that I have noted as attorney privileged information. Because you received that information just in an executive session, I'll send it that way so everyone has that comparison analysis.
Thank you. Can we also have the year-to-date ARPA expenditures?
Yes, we don't have the interest yet, and I like to make sure the interest is added too. I wanted to bring it tonight. It's the 7th, and this is usually the end of the first week where they get that. That interest has been about $100,000 or so a month because of the amount still sitting in the savings accounts. So as soon as she drops that in there, I'll send that as well. And then the last update to send tomorrow, you just get a lot of emails, is the audit is back. It is out to the printer, but the electronic copy is available. I think they were working on establishing a presentation by the CPA firm on, I think, scheduling up Monday, August 21st. So several different emails and different packets will come tomorrow. Thank you.
And I'm curious, I know that PD is working really hard to increase our staff, and I know that we're short right now in all watches, but is there a way that we can be creative with having park rangers do that, do the patrol of the parks to make sure that kids aren't there instead of pulling PD from the street? Can we look at that instead?
Yep. We've got 2 park rangers that are going to start doing overtime between the hours of 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. That will patrol the parks where there's a problem. So we're putting them on. They're going to start patrolling the parks. But the police additionally are going to patrol them. Park rangers can't give curfew tickets. I mean, they can, ask them to leave, but if they get any pushback or anything like that, they'll have to call the police. But we are going to have park rangers patrol the parks between those hours.
Okay. And then I know that the city applied for that Familia grant with Health Solutions to do a similar program as Denver Star. Have we heard back on that grant at all?
Not formally. We did receive word that the county was awarded a portion of that grant out of the state, and we did. So we have not received a non-award, but by virtue of the fact that we didn't receive a positive award, we have moved forward with only Health Solutions receiving their own grant that they applied for to start up a STAR program equivalent, but it's not called La Familia, and it will do some of that work. It just would not be as robust as the grant application that we submitted.
Okay. Perhaps we need a work session on that then too, Chief, if that's going to start September with Health Solutions. Okay, seeing no other questions or comments for city staff, I'm moving along, and I'm going to call our friend Mr. Stoller to the podium to talk about this year's Colorado State Fair. And Scott, on the way here, I did hear a radio ad for the Pueblo State Fair, so that was very exciting.
I like that you call it the Pueblo State Fair. It is in Pueblo, Colorado State Fair.
I think it was Colorado State Fair in Pueblo.
Yeah, that's the way we market it, but it is definitely part of Pueblo and is in the DNA of Pueblo. So let's see, I have a PowerPoint presentation, which I don't know how to turn that on. Oh, it's up there, okay, sweet, I was looking here. Give me just a second to get set up and I will start rolling. Thank you for inviting me to this work session, and I do want to talk a little bit about our planning efforts and some of the very cool things that are happening at the State Fairgrounds, as well as this year's State Fair. So first, I will start by, I'll say, repeating this, because I think I talked about this last year, but I think it's important and it's very monumental to talk about the vision that's happening at the Colorado State Fair with our master plan that was adopted in 2021. It is as you can see on the screen, it is a 4-phase plan over 30 years. So it's not the map of exactly how the fairgrounds is going to look, but it's more of a guide to show us what we should be working on as we make improvements to the fairgrounds and as we make decisions. And I can tell you, phase 1, which is 4 to 5 years, which will be 2026 to complete. If you go to the fair this year, you'll see that is substantially complete. So far we're ahead of schedule, but it's all funding dependent. So there's no guarantee that we'll stay at the same breakneck speed that we're going with our master plan. But I do want to talk about some of the improvements that have happened over the last couple of years since the master plan has happened by showing some pictures of our what it looked like and what it looks like now. So this is looking outside the event center towards Prairie Avenue. This was our entrance, our main entrance. The majority of our folks that come to the fair, this is what they saw when they walked in through our gates. You can tell the asphalt's not that great. I really loved our carport tents that we had, but the rest of it's really nice. But we had this blighted area, so we worked with our architectural design firm. We designed this space, and this is kind of what we came up with is, and I think most of you have seen this, this was conceptual, and last year this became reality. This was our first big step forward in our master plan, and I would say a lot of people were very refreshed to see major improvements at the fairgrounds, and I'm happy to report today this was just the tip of the iceberg, as you'll see from my presentation as we go on. This is from the inside. This is a lot more user-friendly for getting people through the gates quickly. And then I have this picture here because people aren't aware of this. The structure was actually designed with the idea that there will be an LED light element to it with a multicolor programmed light show. And if you're not busy tomorrow at 8 o'clock, we are testing that out. That just got installed, so it's not going to be just a white structure in the evenings. It's going to be a light show as you leave the fairgrounds or drive by the fairgrounds for that matter. So now I'm going to show you this next picture because this is the area that's the iceberg that's under the water that you haven't seen yet, but this exists. This is the area behind the Ag Palace. Not exactly the greatest asphalt. I think the city's definitely tackled this issue also with the road repair. We have some areas that are not exactly ideal for accessibility, not very eye appealing, not very inviting to enjoy a major festival like the State Fair. So just a couple pictures here of what it looked like, and then I'll keep going as I went too far. Oh, shoot, I got ahead of my... All right, so this is to the left, you'll see this is an aerial photo of what the space looked like. Once again, with our master plan, we worked with our architectural engineer firm and designed a space. The lower right is the early rendering. And if you've been in the fairgrounds lately, this is what it looks like. This is as you're walking in that gate. The event center's on the left, the Ag Palace is straight ahead, the livestock barn's off to the side. A lot more accessible, a lot more inviting. I'm struggling with the clicker. I push it once and it doesn't move, and then it goes twice. This is actually a little early. There's actually grass in here now. There's pavers down, and here's what the back of the Ag Palace looks like today. So it's Laura used to work at the State Fair, so she's very familiar with what the back of the Ag Palace looked like. That was, I'm gonna say, 80 years of asphalt on the backside of the asphalt, because that's about when the Ag Palace went in. So. I think most people would notice when they go to the State Fair, the east side of the Ag Palace has been gorgeous with that water feature and the grass, and the backside was a 180. It was the opposite. And now I think we have a lot to be proud on all sides of the Ag Palace. And I put this slide in here. This is a rendering of what the space looks like now. And this is pretty accurate. We will not have a stage there this year. There's actually going to be a trapeze act there. But in the background there, you'll notice a barn that is not currently on the fairgrounds, and this is what's next. We are working with a consultant right now to do a fundraising feasibility assessment on our ability to raise money to build a $40 million multi-use pavilion that can be used year-round for all types of events, whether it's sporting, large RV and boat shows, numerous things, 80,000 square feet of high ceiling, flexible space. And then during the fair annually, it would enhance the experience for the 4-H and FFA exhibitors with their animals and their projects at the fair. And additionally, throughout the year, we could host large livestock and horse shows in this space. So this is what's next. The Fair Board, this is phase 2, so we're ahead of schedule. But once again, it's all dependent on funding. So as we move forward, we hope to be successful in our campaign, and this is our vision to the future, is to really preserve the history, which you see there on the left, but also bring in some modernization into the fairgrounds so it can be used, I would say, year-round more frequently, and then also to have a better experience during the annual fair. There is a video here that I don't think will play. Oh, I guess I took it out. Okay, never mind. One thing I also shared with you last year is the economic impact study for the Colorado State Fair, and also for the activities that happen on the fairgrounds year-round. This is 2021's numbers. So the first thing is just the 11 days of fair have a direct spending effect at the county level. This doesn't count people driving here from outside of the county and the money they spend on the way or coming out of state. Just in Pueblo City and Pueblo County proper, over $30 million of direct financial activity that happens from the 11 days of fair. Indirect, that number compounds out to $43.7 million. And when you combine that with the fair and non-fair activities, our impact, indirect and direct, is over $55 million based on 2021's data. And then another fun slide, and this is direct and indirect revenues, and it's estimated by a consultant who does economic impact studies across the nation for various types of events and activities. The direct and indirect benefit from the fair existing, this is the fair and fairgrounds, is $4.3 million, is based on all the activities. This is the sales that are generated by the activities happening on the fairgrounds, people that come and stay in the community, people that drive here, to get to the fairgrounds, the wages that are paid, and the money that those people spend in the community. So if the fair did not exist, based on the consultant's research, there would be a $4.3 million gap in tax revenue across the state. All right, now the fun stuff, the 2023 Colorado State Fair, which is less than 3 weeks away. And my staff is freaked out by that because a lot of planning, and it just kind of sneaks up on us each year. This year's theme is Mountains of Fun, and as always, we end on Labor Day, and we're 11 days long, starting on August 25th. A couple things to put on your radar for higher profile events. I think we already talked about Tough Enough to Wear Pink and the Cowboys Kicking Cancer dinner in 3 weeks. Also that night, if you do go out, there is the Cattlemen's have a reception in the Livestock Pavilion, which is just thereafter if you want to go see some of Colorado's ranchers at the fairgrounds. Opening day of fair is a busy day with some high-profile events starting at 7:30 in the morning at Walking Stick Golf Course. Our foundation hosts a golf tournament, and it's always great to have dignitaries attend that and support the foundation and their mission. And then that evening, the Chamber of Commerce hosts the Legislative Barbecue, which is one of the biggest social gatherings and networking events in Southern Colorado. And each year at the State Fair, it is definitely a who's who, and I hope you guys are able to make it to that event. The Chamber does promote that event, and I'm assuming you guys get invited. I'm pretty sure I've seen you guys there before. Then on Saturday, which it sounds like the parade's already on your guys' radar, Saturday's another big day, and then Tuesday is also a big event of activities where we have the Junior Livestock Sale, which is the culmination of the 4-H and FFA youth activities where they get to sell their projects. And typically our champion animals sell for a very large chunk of funds, which it all goes towards scholarship for their program. And I believe the steer sold for $60-something thousand last year. Pigs usually in the $20,000 range. And we do get visitors from across the state. The Denver Wrestlers come down from Denver, and we have the Pikes Peak Posse from Colorado Springs, as well as some great buyers groups from here in Pueblo. And then another high-profile day, just in general, is Fiesta Day. with the parade, which is also on your radar. It's definitely the biggest day of the fair. Huge day for the fair. And actually, that second weekend is the busiest for attendance annually at the fair. So, Fiesta Day is a great day to come out and see the community also. I think inflation affects all folks, so we do have a lot of deals and discounts for folks that are affected by inflation. This is just a slide, and this is on our website and also in our daily guide for those that are interested. A lot of promotions we have normally, which American Heroes Day, where there's a discount for first responders and active duty and veterans to come in the fair. And then we have Kids Days on Mondays, where kids 12 and under get in for free. One Price Wednesday, we only have one Wednesday. It's $15 to get in the fair, but that includes unlimited carnival rides. There's a ranch rodeo. There's a Ned Ledoux concert, so it's truly a value day. Back to School Day, which is a huge day for the community. A lot of high school kids. It's a very busy day for the fair. Discount carnival passes, and also admission is free for those that are in school. On Thursday, after school is out that day. They can't come earlier because we don't open until 3. And then some new promotions this year. I guess not new. Senior Day is on Fridays this year, but also on Fridays we have a promotion. Since we open at 11 o'clock, it is 5 till 5. So everybody else, it's only $5 to get into the fair if you get there before 5 p.m. And then also for those folks and seniors, all of our food vendors will have at least one menu item that is $5. That is a meal. So just adding a value to our Fridays. And then a partnership with Care and Share we're doing this year on Tuesday called Two Can Tuesday, which if you bring 2 cans of food to the fair, that gets you into the fair for free. So it's hopefully going to fill the food bank with some good food. If you forget your cans of food, they will take a donation of $2, which will go towards Care and Share to also help fill a pantry and get people to come out to the fair for another value day. The national entertainment, just ignore the top left act because you can't get tickets. Actually, you guys can. I think you guys already got some. Because city councilors, maybe not. You guys. You have, these are the hottest tickets in town. Go to StubHub. Fluffy is like $200 on StubHub right now, so. Please don't sell your comp tickets. So Fluffy, which is on Thursday, which is, our venue holds about 7,800 people. It is going to be packed on that day. We also have Lady A with Tyler Braden on the second Friday fair in the Southwest Motors Event Center. And then Little John with Chingy on Saturday. And then partnership on Sunday, which is also Fiesta Day, is Pat Benatar and Neil Gerardo. If you're not a city councilor and don't get your 2 tickets, you can spend $30 on lotto tickets, and I don't know if the jackpot's been drawn, but I hope somebody from Colorado wins because you can win $1.5 billion and also get a ticket to see Pat Benatar and Neil Gerardo. So I hope somebody wins because then we can say they got a voucher. Or if you'd rather buy a ticket, they're $45 through our box office. And then the first weekend of the fair always kicks off with PRCA Rodeo. Opening night is Ian Munsick. And he is pretty popular, and the concert package with him and the rodeo is already sold out. So at this point, we're only selling concert-only tickets. Saturday is Chase Rice with PRCA Rodeo, also a very popular show. This one we'll get into concert-only here pretty soon. Sunday, Sawyer Brown, which is actually it goes way back to Star Search days, but very popular 90s country act, also performing very well for us. And then Monday is if you're just a rodeo fan and don't want to see a concert, we do have a value night where you could just buy a rodeo ticket. I believe it's $8. I think actually we lowered it to $5 this year for the Monday rodeo. And then on Fiesta Day, Celebration de los Charros featuring Los Tigres del Norte. I promise you this will be the biggest day at the State Fair in the last 15 years. Los Tigres is outperforming last year's show, which last year's show outperformed the previous 15 years. So Fiesta Day is going to be packed. Los Tigres, if you don't know who they are, a couple years ago, Jennifer Lopez or J-Lo was the halftime show for the Super Bowl. Los Tigres was the banda that was invited to perform during the NFL halftime show. So pretty high-profile group. And then for our motorsports enthusiasts, we have 2 nights of monster trucks, demo derby, and the famous, I'm going to say it's famous or infamous at this point, I think it's our 5th annual World Slopper Eating Championship. That guy with the necklace there, he won the celebrity contest as my boss, so I like to put that picture up there because he doesn't want to be referred to as a celebrity champion anymore. But the world champion of the actual slopper eating contest, I believe, ate 38 quarter-pound sloppers, patty sloppers in 8 minutes. So if you're up for the challenge, we're still taking entries. And I believe the mayor annually blesses the slopper. Hopefully we have you on the books this year to bless the slopper. And it's a great way to showcase Southern Colorado, Pueblo, Colorado ag. And, you know, the slopper has Colorado beef, it has Pueblo green chili. The cheese is obviously Colorado dairy, and then there's a bun, which comes from Colorado wheat. So we really have fun with it, but it's also, really ties into ag and what the state fair is. And there is so much more. I can't cover the whole state fair. Our website is very comprehensive. We have, on this slide here, I do have a few of our free attractions that are at the fair this year. We do have the Canine Stars coming back, a giant sand sculpture, which the sand sculpture, you'll see that as you come in the brand new main entrance. And I promise you, you're not going to miss the sand sculpture. And you never would have thought it belonged where it is, but after you see it, you're going to be like, it should have been there the whole time. It's already roughed out, and you can see it from probably 2/3 of the fairgrounds. Petting Zoo, pony rides are back. And then we do have a couple free concerts that are nationally known acts. I mentioned Ned Ledoux on our Pay One Price Day. We also have Firefall coming back on Labor Day. And then Flowbots, they're a band from Denver that, if you know the Handlebar song, that is Flowbots. So a little diversity. I like to say our entertainment is not all for one person, but there's a little bit for everyone. And hopefully there's something that I mentioned today is of interest. And there is so much more. You know, we have the competitions, it's all about the youth and ag and community. And with that, I will say come see us at the fair in less than 3 weeks. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those at this time.
Great, thanks, Mr. Stoller. Very exciting. What questions are there from council? Councilor
I
Flores.
just wanted to make a comment. Has anyone on your board ever asked the state why they're collecting tax and why they just don't give it back to the state fair? Over a 30-year period, it would amount to $75 million, which would really go toward improving our fairgrounds.
The state does give back to the fairgrounds. The improvements that I'm sharing with you, 10 million or 9 million of that came from the state over the last 2 years. But in the last 2 years, there's been $20 million in projects funded by the state. And that's just the last 2 years. Our head of operations, who's over our projects, she's tracking all of her projects, and she's like this close to managing $100 million in state projects. So they do support the facility. I think in regards to operation, they really want the fair event to kind of pay for the operation, and then the facility, they definitely help us, just like with the university. They put a lot of money into the facility, and then the business model, they want it to kind of support the operation, which I know the history going back. The fair's had its ups and downs financially, and that's made the news from time to time. The fair is on very sound financial footing right now, and it's been that way for, I kind of inherited the up on that, and the up has continued to go up. So it would take, and I'm knock on something, but it would take a lot to put us, it will take several years for us to get in a bad financial situation again. Not to say it's not going to happen. It has been a roller coaster, no pun intended, but the fair has been more supportive. I see it with 5 years have been here, and like I said, the fair's on good financial footing too, which I think helps. And our master plan helps too, because we have a vision for what we need help with, whereas before we didn't have that. So when we asked, they said why. Now we have the why. This is our master plan, and this is the reasoning.
And then I don't have another question, but I just had a comment. Since you've been here, the food trucks, they are not like they used to be. I mean, these things are immaculate, and I wanted to compliment you, because that's the one thing that over the last 3 or 4 years I've noticed is all of the vendors, they have these beautiful structures, and I'm sure they're trailers, but I mean, you go up to any kind of food vendor, and it's really impressive as how clean they are. And I just wanted to compliment you, because it's really been noticeable.
Thank you, and I do have a response for you, though, if I can. If you like the food trucks we've had in the past, you're going to be very surprised by the one that's coming this year. With those big food trucks, we have one that is 2 food trucks tall by 2 food trucks wide. It's it actually has an elevator that lowers pizza dough from the top to the low. So if you liked what we've had in the past, stay tuned because this year it's going to literally another level.
Cool. Well, I'm very excited. That was a good hype presentation, Mr. Stoller. Can you talk a little bit about safety? And I know last year, I think we had a pretty good plan in place for safety mitigation. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, and I like to talk about safety at kind of a higher level just because we don't want to give people our playbook as to what we're prepared for because there's bad actors out there and this is a public meeting. But we do have emergency plans and we do collaborate with our partners, which the DA's office, the city police department is a partner definitely prior to fair and outside the gates. The sheriff's office is a huge partner as well as the state Homeland Security. And then we have our own law enforcement that work at the state fair inside the gates. And our emergency plan is pretty comprehensive to mitigate risk. There is no zero risk in this world. I mean, that's one thing when you do an emergency plan, that's the first thing you know. Everything's to mitigate risk. And as the city is doing with investing in technology, we continue to invest in technology. We've, in the last 3 years, have put over $200,000 into technology at the gates to help mitigate harm from entering the fairgrounds. And then this past, I guess last month, we did a tabletop exercise at the sheriff's office with some of our partners to just talk through some scenarios and work through our plan and see if there's any areas where we can improve that to even mitigate risk more.
Great. Seeing no other questions then, very exciting. We'll see you the week of the state fair, Mr. Stoller, and then make sure that you're sleeping and drinking water before then. Can't imagine how exhausting that is.
Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Stoller.
Appreciate it.
Oh, I did want to say something really quick. I know that the neighborhood that surrounds the fair for the past couple of years, trash is a pretty big thing. And so I wanted to publicly thank our Public Works Department, who for the second year now is going to be providing those big dumpsters around the neighborhood, which worked really well last year, as well as doing nightly street sweeping. So I think it really should help to not only satiate the neighborhood concerns, but also like just beautify that area. So that way every morning it's clean and refreshed and looks good.
Yeah, and I will say Public Works is a great partner. They also street sweep around the fairgrounds during and prior to the fair to help beautify. And we do appreciate the partnership with the city for our neighbors over there. I think we're doing it twice or 3 times a year now for the cleanup outside of the fair to help. I mean, we know that we're an attraction, but we're also sometimes not the favorite neighbors. So those type of partnerships really help us be good neighbors with our community. So thank you.
Great. Thanks, Mr. Stoller. Moving along, we're going to hear from United Way about their ARPA request. So can I have Ms. Farmer, Mr. Weber, and Mr. Ailes to the podium? And just to note on the agenda, so this is a current ARPA request. We will have several presentations that are upcoming after this that are about ARPA update because the ARPA funding has already been distributed and implemented. So this is a current ARPA request, just to differentiate between the two. Whenever you're ready.
Well, good evening, and thank you for having us back. We're excited to share some updates. I know you've heard from us a few times, so we don't want to rehash all the old details, but we're happy to answer any questions. But we really wanted to share the highlights of where we are today since the last time that we saw you all earlier this year. And so I'm joined this evening, want to make sure to introduce myself, Shanna Farmer, President CEO. We have Reed Weber, our board chair, and Todd Ailes, one of our board members and heads up our governance committee. So the last time that we presented, I know there were still some lingering concerns. And at this point, we really have worked hard the last few months to come back with a proposal that addresses those concerns. And so some of those had been around the amount. And so you'll notice the amount requested is lower than before. And we really went back to the board and wanted to make a concerted effort to show our commitment and investment in the process. And so the board has done that as well. And then also ensuring a strong sustainability plan. We've identified a new location that actually is a lower price point, but gives us really more long-term opportunities. It also provides ample space for those trainings, meetings, and ultimately the nonprofits that will be there. So in front of you, we did provide a one-page revised request that highlights the proposed location and what it provides. It also highlights, it really reiterates those local nonprofit needs that we had identified through the surveys that we presented earlier this year. And then just to give you a 2-year overview of what we would strive to do in the first 2 years for the center. And one of the things that came up from council and that we took back and very seriously put back into the proposal or put into it was around a shared grant writer for nonprofits. And so that is part of the year one operational goals, is hiring that shared grant writer to help collectively and work with those individual nonprofits, which we know will result in additional support in years to come. That is part of the budget that we put together for the $600,000. And then the rest of that, those funds would be used for the purchase of the building. So that is the high-level overview, but I certainly want to give enough time and space for questions without droning on, because I know you have a really packed agenda tonight.
No, that was super concise. Thank you, Ms. Farmer, for that. What questions are there from council? Councilor Flores.
Yeah, I have reviewed this, and I just want to make sure that I'm looking at this correctly. You were asking for $1 million previously, and you reduced that to $600,000. And I wanted to remind the council, too, that I think had you had another option where the $600,000 would have worked, we could have potentially passed that for you. And for you to go out and, search again for another property and voluntarily decrease your amount, I just wanted to thank you for that, because I think it makes it a lot more palatable. But you also are reflecting that the new building has 15,000 square feet, whereas the other building was only 10. And the fact that you are going to inherit a tenant on the first level automatically gives you a revenue stream that you didn't have with the other option. So it looks like a lot of things fell in place. It's almost as though it was a blessing in disguise that everything that transpired put you in a better position today. But I just wanted to say that because I think you've gone back and basically kind of reworked the numbers, found a building that you felt that's what we're feeling up here as a council. So I wanted to thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. I do know that our team took the feedback from the council, right, to go assess other areas, definitely look at increasing the amount that United Way is committing to it, and also reducing the amount that we're asking from the city council. And I believe our team went out and did that and found a location that can support Pueblo. And again, with the grant writer, hopefully many other nonprofits in the future.
Yeah, similarly, I really appreciate the board actively listening, and I'm really excited about this proposal. And I think particularly the grant writing piece is going to be huge for local and small nonprofits. So I'm really excited about it. I look forward to voting on it, and it's going to be on the second reading August 14th.
Thank you.
Great. That was super short. Thanks, guys. Okay. Moving on our agenda, the next presentation is an update from Mad Fresh Productions. So it looks like Mr. Morgan's coming to the podium. We could. Yeah, so the request is to move it until the appropriate people are here, which then leads to a PDI. So this is an ARPA update. There's going to be several ARPA updates. These are, again, already expended ARPA funds. This one is from Pueblo Diversified Industry. And I see Mr. Pump and Miss Weldon.
Are we just able to go? Hello, everybody. It is so great to be here with you guys tonight and to talk about this amazing grant that you guys so saw fit for PDI to do that really has affected people in our community. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We have some PowerPoints. Click. Do I click? Oh, God. Okay, here's the video. How do we play it? There we go.
Hi, everybody. Dave Long, CEO of Pueblo Diversified Industry. It's really an exciting day for us today because today we got to.
I guess I can narrate it as it goes.
Chevrolet and pick up this incredible Chevy Traverse. Now this,
Yeah, you could barely hear it. I don't know.
I don't
We
like where
changed
we're
that.
pausing this video. I don't like where it started. I don't like where it is now, but I do like in the back that you have Mr. Perry voguing on that red vehicle on the Traverse.
this cool Chevy
Oh, there we
Traverse
go.
is made possible by the ARPA grant that we got from the city of Pueblo.
All right. So this is let's watch it. All right, so we asked our photographer, his name's Brooks, just to do a quick snippet of what it was like in impact for this ARPA grant. We can click it one more time.
Hi,
Oh
everybody.
gosh, no,
Dave
let's
Plum.
not do that. For that ARPA grant, the award was $155,390 to purchase those three, which we were able to partner with Spradley. Got great deals with the buying power that you guys were able to extend to us through this grant, and we're able to buy these three particular vehicles, which is fantastic. Now, Brooks went and did a video showing us, which was great music and really good words. You just have to trust us on that. And where our guys, who we get to support every single day, got to go into the community and just have amazing experiences. So this has allowed the capacity of 3,900 community integration experiences the last year. They are 5 days a week is being used throughout Pueblo and southern Colorado. And this is the quote that I like the most. When we brought and specifically the Traverse, which everybody loves the Traverse, it was, I am finally in a car that makes me feel like a real person. And I can't even begin to put a financial thing on that. One of our guys was like, it's not a white van. I'm not being advertised as having a disability. I'm not being advertised that way. I get to just go and be a regular part of our community. So it's been a phenomenal experience with these vehicles where the beginning of that video showed that we did a social media post the day that we were there, thanking the council, thanking the city for this process. So we've been doing a lot of those kinds of pieces. And, oh goodness, We wanted to
Another
show you real
video,
quick.
yeah.
Yeah, are you ready for the sound on this one?
We'll see if it'll work on this.
Oh, good, I don't have to do nothing. Piece is where we're headed. Tomorrow we're having our grand opening for Fresh Greens Colorado, the vocational training program, hydroponic lettuce and microgreens. Here it goes. DCRU is able to do some amazing work in this adaptive technology. And of course, everybody's invited
Excellent. I'm sure they were great videos. So, all right, questions for PDI? Can we just watch, or even just the first one?
Hi, everybody. Dave Pump, CEO at Pueblo Diversified Industries. It's really an exciting day for us today because today we got to come to Sprat. And pick up this incredible Chevy Traverse. Now, this cool Chevy Traverse is made possible by the ARPA grant that we got from the city of Pueblo.
Follow me if you get lost. I sent you the link.
I think the only thing I would add about the videos themselves, this isn't just Pueblo. I mean, our guys go to Manitou, they go to Bishop's Castle. They love Canyon City and shopping in Canyon City downtown. So that's where these vehicles are going on a regular basis, not just here in Pueblo. They are able to travel all around southern Colorado due to not having to worry about whether their vehicles are going to break down or whatnot, having these brand new vehicles, which has been pretty awesome.
So thank you.
Great. I'm glad that it helped remove that accessibility barrier and transportation barrier. So that's amazing. Any other comments for PDI? Councilor Atencio?
Yeah, I'm glad you got the vehicles and brand new that you can use, but make sure you trade them in a timely manner so you can rotate that thing and not pay so much the second time around. That brand new vehicle will be a lot cheaper when you trade in. 20, 30,000 miles is all, just rotate them as often as you can.
That is a brilliant suggestion. Thank you.
It's worth it to be able to do that. That way you have a brand new vehicle all the time.
Thank you.
And that's a good way, because when you trade in a vehicle, the margin that you pay for that extra one is small enough that it's affordable. So, especially when you got the way you guys use them, that way they'll stay brand new all the time.
Perfect. Seeing no other questions, thank you, Mr. Pump and Ms. Weldon, for that presentation.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to circle back to the Mad Fresh Productions presentation. And if you could just state your names first and last for the record, that would be great. With the mic.
Good evening, members of the City Council. Thanks for taking your time to listen to this presentation. My name is Quentin Hagewood.
And I'm Morgan Cox.
And I'm actually representing my unofficial nonprofit, which is Steel City Studios. So it'll become more clear in the presentation, but Mad Fresh Productions is the fiscal sponsor since they are officially nonprofit registered 501c3. So I guess we can begin. A little background about myself. I don't do this as a job. I'm actually a retired vet, and I do this nonprofit studio thing to help local musicians and artists in town to get the professional advice and recording and production stuff they need, which where they would not otherwise be able to afford to do so. Because I believe in there's actually a fantastic music scene here in Pueblo that I feel strongly about, and that's what I'm here to support. So this event is called The Time Is Now, which is also the namesake for the album release, which would be Morgan Cox's new album to come out. This is meant to showcase and support Pueblo's musical talent on a grand scale, rather than just be a talent show. It's meant to be a professional performance put on by or at here at the Pueblo Memorial Hall. So, like I said, it's meant to be a professional ticketed live musical event. It will serve as the launching for Morgan's new album coming out. Proceeds for these ticket sales will be used to fund the least expensive travel option for Morgan and myself. I'm now his acting manager as a volunteer on my part to get him to Los Angeles and represent Pueblo as a professional musician to meet with some prominent social media management and perform a live performance in Los Angeles area, and also meet with a A&R rep for potential record label representation. And the remaining proceeds from that will also go to help fund the free education classes that Mad Fresh Productions puts on. More about that in slide number 6. So putting this on at Pueblo Memorial Hall, it is Pueblo's premier musical performance hall. Every musician in town would love to play at Pueblo Memorial Hall just because of what it represents, not just here locally, but statewide and even nationwide. So it's not really a place that local musicians get a chance to play at because they can afford to, right? So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to put this on as a next level event. There are other venues in town that could do this at, but putting on at Pueblo Memorial Hall really would represent a grander scale, more professional level representation of Morgan and the other artists that will be playing at this show. So the artists, so Morgan Cox, some of you know him, some of you may not, but he has become an adored and integral musician, and also philanthropic endeavors that he does, volunteering his time to different nonprofits in town, different events, and his fan base spans all age groups, young and old. He exemplifies the dream that some of these young folks that would be taking these classes that Mad Fresh Productions puts on aspire to be. He's not there at the famous level, but he's there. They are here. They look up to some of those individuals. Actually, look up to Morgan. He has done some volunteer work among that audience, as you'll see in the pictures on the side. That was at one of the middle schools here in town, and he did a performance there and talked to them about pursuing their dreams. This whole event is meant to span that spectrum of looking at your dreams as a young person to Morgan's level, which he's accomplished a lot here in Pueblo. Want to help him move on with the support of, the city of Pueblo. That's why we're here, and see what he can do to represent Pueblo on the next level on that. There will be 3 supporting local musical artists to be determined. I just cannot pursue booking them until I have the dates and times solidified in order to schedule those artists. So, but they will be other local artists that I have in mind. So I pretty much talked about most of this already at the beginning to introduce myself. I've been playing music a lot of years, even when I was in the Army. I played in different groups and bands. Before that, I was kind of in a couple of different professional bands when I was younger. I've always played music. I've accrued a lot of gear, seen a lot, have a lot of experience. I even played in a band over in Korea when I was stationed over there. So I like to take my experience and knowledge and help give advice to young aspiring artists like Mike Morgan here that I see great talent in to help them pursue their next level of their dream and represent Pueblo in the process. Just a little side note, my wife and I, when I got out of the Army at Fort Carson back in 2017, we could have went anywhere in the United States and came down to Pueblo, and there's something about it just stuck with me. And one of the things was the music scene. Has a very unique music scene here. So, and everyone in the music scene bands together kind of as a family too. So it was one of the things that drew me to this community. In the bottom one, although I have over 25 years of music experience in my Still City Studios, which I'm not officially 501c3 yet, but my primary mission is to foster, advise, and promote the local talented musicians here to give them a leg up the next step because they do not have the financial means otherwise. So Mad Fresh Productions, some of you are very familiar with Mad Fresh Production, all the great things they do already in the community. So Javier is a very good friend of Morgan's as well. He feels very passionate and supports his music as well. So the partnership between Mad Fresh Productions and myself is that he is an official 501c3, and he really feels passionate about supporting Morgan. So we partnered to put on this event. It's not primarily a Mad Fresh Productions event, but they are the nonprofit fiscal sponsor, if you were. And if you're not familiar with what they do, they engage in the community, young and old, but specifically doing youth classes for DJing and fashion, breakdancing, MC, and graffiti at this time. There's also some other ones on the docket in the future. Yeah, like I said, aside from being the fiscal sponsor, he's an avid supporter of Morgan and the music scene. Just a minute, let me grab a glass of water because my mouth is dry. Thanks. Colorado, right? All right. So finances. Originally, the quote given when we came a couple weeks ago, it was the $6,226. That was from this invoice. Since then, City Councilmember Sarah Martinez has been kind enough to try to submit a waiver to get the $1,900 for the room rental rate taken from that, but that still leaves $4,726 because of the staff that is needed to put this event on, security, usher, the production, lighting, and sound folks that run all the equipment. Unfortunately, this is the minimum we could get thus far, so that is basically what we're asking for. We do have plans to sell tickets. The ticket sales are what would go towards the classes and also Morgan's trip to LA. So again, to emphasize that trip to LA it's just the minimal expenses, a plane ticket and a simple hotel room for the both of us to stay in, just so we can go over there and help pursue Morgan's next level for his musical career. I'll leave that slide up just for a minute. I know you'll have the worksheets in front of you, but actually looking pretty good on time because I think that's my last slide. And there's me and Morgan. And my mom always said, "Why do you have to make a silly face?" I just can't help myself. So.
Great, thank you for that presentation about.
Yes, ma'am.
The time is now. What questions are there from council? Councilor Graham.
Will you have any kind of a financial contribution to this show?
Yes. So it's not in the slideshow, but the 3 artists I'm going to negotiate. That's going to come out of my own pocket. I'm going to give them negotiated for. So if they come from, for whatever their expenses might need, but because even though it's a nonprofit, I never ask anyone to play for free. So I'm going to negotiate that, but that's coming out of my own pocket to pay them.
What's that amount look like?
It's probably going to be $100 each. So you're looking at $300 out of my own money to pay them each
So
artist.
you guys are willing to put $300 towards a almost $7,000 expenditure, and the city of Pueblo is just supposed to pay for the rest as a benefit, or?
I guess I don't really know how to answer that question. This was proposed to me as a possibility to use this venue. So we are asking for the use of venue. I never thought it would be possible. It was brought to my attention by someone else, so I didn't know that that was even going to be a possibility. So that's all I'm here asking for someone who told me it was possible. So,
Councilor Maestri?
I was just thinking, I'm sorry, someone kind of led you to believe that, because a lot of the council contingencies go towards nonprofits, and what they plan on doing with the money is something that we've been struggling here on council with because of the different amounts
Sure.
that we've been putting forward. And, it's really serving one purpose, and that's Morgan's career. And Morgan, I'm still a fan. Misfits is one of my favorite. So, see, I'm not just saying it, I know the music. But where were you planning on this money coming from, Councilor Martinez, since you brought it back to the table?
Well, I think it was originally presented, and I thought it was going to be like a Pueblo Has Talent, it was very similar, like showcasing local talent. And for that, we also did the full production and waived the Memorial Hall fee. And again, it's a showcase of local talent.
Yes, ma'am.
And also for the community, Pueblo Has Talent also charged a ticket price on their event, very similar there. And so that's.
Did we find out what they were planning on using their money for? Before Pueblo Has Talent, do we know where that money went?
It was just strictly a rental in Memorial Hall, because it was over, I think, a 3-day.
Turn your mic on, please.
I said the money that we did give to Pueblo's Got Talent, number one, we've done this for the last couple of years. I think this was the third year, but it was utilized for just the rental of Memorial Hall. But this was over a 3-day weekend, so it was $1,900, I think, per day.
Could I make a comment to reiterate something? I know it seems like it's Morgan's benefit, but it is meant to showcase. It's not 3 days like Pueblo Has Talent with 100-something artists, but it's going to be 4 local artists, not represented as a talent show, represented at a professional level, which represents something different, but still representing Pueblo's local music community on a higher level than just a talent show. It's not just meant to benefit Morgan, it's meant to showcase everyone that's going to be performing there, and also to show the support and to the other musicians locally here in town that the city would have for helping musicians on the higher level to do a next level type event. That's the idea behind Pueblo Memorial Hall, as opposed to another venue in town, because it's a prestigious thing.
But you're not asking for us just to waive the fee for Memorial Hall, you're asking us for additional funds to.
Yes, ma'am. Unfortunately, we couldn't negotiate anything lower. We have sought out sponsors, so there's potential local sponsors that would mitigate that cost. I don't know how that would work. On the back end is any sponsorship we'd get that would go towards above and beyond that. We could take that money back into the cost of the money we got from the city. I don't know how that works, but we were trying to get it beforehand, before this meeting. But we had a couple different offers, but we haven't finalized anything yet. So I'm not gonna falsely present something to you. I don't know for sure, but anywhere from 500 to half that amount could potentially be coming from sponsors, but I don't have that solidified at this point.
Appreciate that.
Yeah,
Letting us
and we're
know.
still trying to do that. I don't know how that works. I've never done this before, as far as asking money from city council for this kind of thing, but any money we get above and beyond that, because this is all my volunteer time, like I said, many hours, and putting whatever money I have already on top of whatever money I've had help to Morgan, just to help the career of not just him, but I do all this recording for free in my studio for all these other artists too in town. So try to balance out, what I can.
And can you clarify, really, I guess similar to Councilor Maitri's question, so these funds would be for the Memorial Hall, space, but also the $4,000 that you talked about earlier would just be the lighting, the production, it would just be
It's whatever the cost of putting on a show for staffing, because I can't walk into Memorial Hall and say, I'm gonna run your soundboard,
so it's City Hall staff.
It's
or
staff,
Memorial
it's whoever, it's Memorial Hall staff.
which I think is the same case as the Pueblo Has
It-
Talent.
exactly,
It would,
yes.
we also paid for their staff, and then the winner got, like $5,000.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
it's,
Maybe it's about time that when we bring these things to the table, that we know a little bit more about all of them before we start making decisions.
sorry, Counselor Winter, I also know that you had a question.
Oh, that's okay. But the benefits, any kind of profit is what's sending Javier to California.
Not Javier.
Me.
So Morgan's representing
Morgan.
artist. I'm
So
going with
all of the
him
profits from what you're putting together is to send you to California.
and the classes for the kids. Like Javier puts on at Mad Fish Productions.
So
Okay.
whatever the ticket price is for like the plane ticket and like the hotel room for me to meet my manager, then that will go. And then everything else that goes over that will go back into Mad Fish Productions or probably even back to City Council if you guys are willing to help us out.
Yeah, more specifically to the classes at Mad Fish Productions that are the free classes provided to the youth, even though they're free, still costs Javier and his organization money to buy supplies and put on the event of the class itself. So that's what the money goes for, those two things.
So where were you planning for the money to
stand
come
still.
from? I'm sorry.
That's okay. So on your charity and nonprofit filing with the Colorado Secretary of State, it shows here you're closing, it's supposed to be a three-year data. I guess this was just established in January, this nonprofit?
You're referring to Mad Fish Productions?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd have to divert those questions to Javier because, again, I'm partnering with him as a fiscal sponsor because my nonprofit I've not been registered officially yet.
All right, is Javier here?
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe you can answer these questions.
All right, what's the question?
Hi, Javier. So on your Secretary of State report for nonprofits, it looks here like this was registered in February of 2023?
So yeah, it was registered then, but I've been doing the work out of my own pocket for the past 7 years.
Okay, but you just filed for this 501c3?
Correct.
And under your revenue, you've already closed it out for 5,000 revenue, 5,000 spent, and and zero. So I was just wondering where that went since, what, February?
I hosted the first annual hip hop festival,
Okay.
which cost me over $8,000 in addition to the kids workshops that I've been doing, the graffiti workshop, the breakdancing workshop, the fashion workshop. All those funds went towards that hip hop festival, which was also free,
Okay.
and the
It's
kids
just confusing
workshops.
because this is generally like a year's worth. And it looks like you opened it, January, it's like what you reported for 2023 already.
I do a lot of work and I spend a lot of time in the community, and it costs a lot of money. And I've been doing it for a long time, but I'm just now
I'm talking
finding.
about the actual, what you reported here. That's the reason it's confusing.
So I'm kind of confused what you're referring to.
Normally, when you have a 3-year data here, you're showing the entire year. And you've already had this reported as of, you put January 31st, 2023, 5,000 revenue, 5,000 expended, and zero.
Are you talking about from last year?
It says January 2023.
It might have been from last year because I established my nonprofit, I believe, in February.
Well, it's still 2023.
So I'm going to intervene because generally the law department doesn't review council contingency requests unless requested. And so this is the information is new to me that he's presenting tonight. Two issues that are coming to my mind presently is generally even if one of the companies is a qualified nonprofit, they're entering into a fiscal sponsorship. And with the other organization, which they're indicating is not a qualified nonprofit. Usually, if you're going to enter a fiscal relationship, that other entity has to be a qualified nonprofit, and their revenue would be, and the use of it would be solely for a charitable purpose. So that right there is confusing. So the other issue I think that you're also struggling with is if the individual interest, in this case, to pay the travel expenses of Mr. Cox, is not just incidental but predominates over the charitable purpose, then I think there's some concerns council might have in actually utilizing public money for the production. That's as much as I can, I don't review these unless requested. I haven't been requested to review this one, but based upon what they've presented this far, it seems there are some concerns that whether this qualifies for legitimate public purpose for use of public funds. That may not have cleared anything up, but.
It did. Counselor Tencio.
It does for me also. Do you have any projections as to the income from ticket sales? Because 500 people coming to this event would pay for the expenses. And if we waive, I don't mind, I like the idea of waiving the fee, just the hall, and then if you were to fill the place, you'd be able to go to Los Angeles plus provide the classes that you want to provide for the kids. That's what I'm interested in, getting kids into classes for things to get them involved in.
Absolutely. It's hard to say because it all depends on how well we do advertising and how many tickets we sell. It's my goal, and I told Javier, to put the classes as prominent, but, even looking at the minimum cost of travel, I'm still coming out of pocket for meals and everything, paying for all that. This is just for, help with the plane ticket and a minimal hotel room over there just to get him out in there to get the exposure. But
like Mr. Jagger says, government money going towards a private individual to enhance his.
I understand.
His business, because it's a business.
Sure.
When I was a struggling actor and I had to go to Los Angeles for interviews and auditions, I had to pay my own way.
Understood. Well, and I guess the idea is that the government funds wouldn't be going towards that. That'd be from the ticket sales. The government funds are going to help for the rental of the hall. I understand if you look at it like we're not taking the money to put it back in there, but it's still not government funds going directly towards his travel. The travel, that would be from whatever expenditures, even if we had to shift that over to it being T-shirt sales or something at the show to help pay for that. It's not, the funds we're asking from the city council is not to go directly towards his travel, it's to go directly towards the rental of the hall or the facility staffing.
Counselor Winter.
Nick, can you tell us how many times we've given Memorial Hall for free? I mean, I don't think it's ever been free for any dance recitals or anything. I mean, that's kind of really a slippery slope.
We have waived the fees on occasion for certain events. Whether that has resulted in them being able to put on their event for free or not, I don't know, because we've sort of waived the rental fee. Laura, do you have any additional?
Yes, and I have to confirm with the budget, but there is really in the end no waiver of a rental fee. It's a waiver for the event only, but at the end of the year, the balance of the shortfall in Memorial Hall is made up by the general fund. So it's just waived for the moment for the event in their contract, but at year end, it's shored up with the shortfall.
When you talk about, and maybe our city attorney can explain this, when the city has a contract with Spectrum, I think that's their name, isn't it? Spectrum.
Global Spectrum, I believe.
Global Spectrum.
I haven't looked at it in a long time.
I think they've changed their name. But anyway, we have a contractual arrangement with Memorial Hall in which they've agreed to manage it. And within that agreement, I believe they're the ones that are collecting the rent. And in most cases, like the Pueblo's Got Talent, they have a discount for nonprofits, but that's why we, as a city council, agreed to pay for their rental, because there was no, I don't think there was an option of forgiving under the contract that we have with them. They're expected to manage the event, the Memorial Hall, and they're expected to collect rent. They've got expenses with employees, they've got expenses with the lighting people and all of that stuff. So that's why, had I known we would, I don't think there was an option of forgiving the rent. It was an option of us paying on behalf of Pueblo's Got Talent in that particular case. But going to a different subject, this is one of those issues, and I just want to be frank with the three of you, is that in most cases, we deal with a lot of nonprofits, but their mission, their values and their missions is to take care of many people, like PDI was just here. They deal with the developmentally disabled, and they put them to work and they pay them. But they probably have over maybe 200 to 250 clients. And so when you're in a role like we are, we're looking at maximizing the amount of dollars that we have to nonprofits that are really focused, with a wide net in their area. It's like United Way. They help so many businesses that have many employees. And I think that's where we're getting hung up here is do we use the same model to try to promote an individual who obviously has a lot of talent and you have a great future ahead of you, but do we as a city council now, look at funding individuals? And that's very, very difficult for us up here to do that because I don't think that is not the intent of government. The intent of government is really introducing ordinances and policies that help the majority of our community, and that makes it very, very difficult to make this decision. But I wanted to be clear.
Yeah, and I guess I wanted to reiterate again, it is the focus primarily for Morgan, but it is also meant to showcase other artists that will be playing along with beside him. But their names have not been booked yet because I cannot do that until anything is solidified. Also, it doesn't directly relate to the artists in town that I do free recording for and free production and free advice. But this is an extension of that, given that, Morgan is one of the longer-term folks I've worked with so far, but I have, half a dozen or more other artists with 20 or so people across the board that are Pueblo residents that I help. So I know it's not like hundreds of people, it's not 1,000 people, it's not, but this event doesn't directly relate to them in the fact that they're not necessarily going to be there, but this is part of, I'm here advocating on my own time for one of my artists and three other artists or groups with thought in mind that I can go back to those other artists they represent and say, hey, look what I've been able to help as well too. So it kind of helps them in the long run, if that makes sense. Full circle. I know it doesn't reflect directly on this event necessarily. There'll probably be at least one or two other artists I do represent in my studio, help record. Maybe the other one, maybe just another local one I haven't worked with yet, but looking at different options for that. But I understand what you're saying, and it's honestly, I'm here because even the idea that it's possible was worth giving the presentation for, because
thank you.
Because I do believe in this community and individuals. It's difficult, from what you're saying too, to represent a lot of people at a level I'm trying to represent Morgan and these three other artists. It makes sense. Like back to the Pueblo Has Talent, you have I don't remember 200 and some people or whatever that start out during that thing, but I don't know what any of them have done since winning or not winning since then, right? So I'm just trying to take that process, refine it, put it on a professional level, and advocate in a similar way, but at a higher level, because it's hard to advocate at a higher level with more people. It has to be more focused, if that makes sense. Yes. And that's my intention here.
Other questions?
If I had $5,000 of my own money, I would just rent the hall, but I don't.
Right. Well, and just to clarify, I mean, this ask is just for the space in Memorial Hall and literally the lights and the sounds. That's
and the staffing
it's
for
not
that
for
one evening.
It's not for plane tickets. It's not for anything like that. That's literally just the space, which is the exact same thing that we did for Pueblo Has Talent.
Yes, ma'am.
Was the space for Pueblo Has Talent. And in the end, there were several winners who also got checks specifically for them to do whatever they wanted with. So it's the same concept. It's a pro-social thing for the community, showcasing local talent. We're just literally giving them the space. So.
Yes, ma'am.
wanted to make that clear for the record. Counselor Graham.
I just have a question, Dennis, because I think you were the one who did the Pueblo's Got Talent. Can anybody in the community apply to be part of the Pueblo's Got Talent? And that's kind of why it lasts 3 days and there's over 100 people. Because this just is more narrow to 4 individuals than the Pueblo's Got Talent. It's several people can apply and there's no.
Yeah, they have a period in which people audition. And it's not always, it's always out at the mall or some other place. And then they have a panel of judges. And at some point, the panel of judges select who they think really have talent. And sometimes they have to par it down. But at the end of the day, they select, the talent that's going to be performed. But it's open to the whole community.
Sure.
Yeah, they're open to the whole community.
I believe there's like a $5,000, $3,000, and $2,000 winnings of the top 3 at the end. So 3 people too there, 3 groups.
Can I
And
say
I think
something?
for the record too, Pueblo Has Talent is only, I think, one night is like their biggest show, not 2. Sorry, Morgan, go ahead.
I just want to say, like, I've been singing a lot in Pueblo for the last 3 years, and the support of the community has just been crazy. I really appreciate all of, like, the youth, the older people, like Mad Fresh Productions. I'm pretty sure some of you guys have seen me sing before, too. And I've never had that much support in my life before, and I just want to say thank you, even if this doesn't go through, because I'm going to continue to sing, and I'm going to continue to use my voice and advocate for people with dreams and who inspire to do bigger things with their life and their career. So thank you.
Fantastic. Seeing no other questions or comments, we're going to move on our agenda. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much for taking the time.
Of course. We're going to transition back to ARPA updates, which have already been expended. This is just an update about those funds. Can I have our friends from Children First come to the podium, please? Ms. Shehorn.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity to present to you our successes, courtesy of the generous amount of ARPA funds that we were granted. So I want to talk about the impact that we have made on the child care crisis. Let me figure this out. Okay. We have support staff. So of the deliverables that we promised in our application, we would employ 3 navigators or coaches that can provide technical assistance and advice to new child care centers that are trying to open. So we have 3 of those with a combined experience of years of over 150 years of child care. These are great coaches that are used within 11 counties in Southeast Colorado to help improve quality as well. Our 3 support staff also supported us in our deliverable of the coaches will help improve the level of quality within programs. Specifically in Pueblo, we have 1 level 3 in Colorado Shines, 6 level 4s in Colorado Shines, and 3 level 5s in Colorado Shines. And that's the highest level of quality you can obtain. And that is courtesy of the hard work that these programs did, as well as the support of the coaches. Oops. So as with the ARPA funds, we were able to help launch our Children First Child Care Connections, which was our search tool to help families find child care. They can visit that at childrenfirstco.org. And with that, we were able to expand that referral system to connect partners with existing child care facilities. We were able to expand it to include all 11 counties. So now families from all of Southeast Colorado are able to find childcare courtesy of Children First Child Care Connections. We were also able to create and distribute flyers, yard signs, and posters that increase awareness of the childcare and how to find childcare. We had yard signs with QR codes on them distributed throughout Pueblo, as well as posters with QR codes that are still hanging throughout Pueblo. We were able to provide the new provider navigation, and this individual, Rebecca Bellavia, her sole focus is to walk side by side with those individuals who are pursuing owning their own business and becoming a child care provider, whether it be home or center. There are a lot of hoops to jump through to become a licensed provider, and Rebecca checks in with them weekly to help them through that process, as well as to offer that ongoing encouragement. And many of these providers would not have been able to make it to being open and providing care if it wasn't for Rebecca. So she also provided that mentorship for both, like I said, both child care homes and centers. Since November of 2021, unfortunately, we have closed 12 programs. They moved from the open position to the closed position. That equals 303 seats for children. And 13 programs were in the process of opening and changed their mind and ended up closing. However, the good news with that is, since that same time, we've opened up 27 child care programs and 924 seats for children. 20 programs are in the pending status. That means they're in the process of opening. So we have increased the number of CCAP CCAP programs as well, and we have increased the number of child care programs. Although we wanted to increase it to 140, we were unable to reach that 140. We currently have 122, but as you can see from the data, the seats far exceed our expectations. More children are able to attend childcare because of that help. And a part of this with that referral system, we wanted to make sure that families had adequate ability to, keep going the wrong way, to go and find childcare. So we had 436 families who have visited our referral system when we applied for the ARPA funds. We now have close to 2,000 families who have utilized our referral system. So the system is working. That local support is really helping because families can contact us if they're having challenges in finding childcare, and we can either search on their behalf or they can search for themselves to find childcare 24/7. That site is available 24/7. Additional successes. With the help of all of you, we have removed the cost of zoning in Pueblo City, and we've moved into the community. We've recently relocated. Our offices are now located at St. Mary Corwin, the East Tower of St. Mary Corwin, so we're more accessible to the community, and we have a lot more visibility within the community with our new location. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Shehorn, for that presentation. Definitely great data. Any questions? Can you help better explain what Colorado Shines is?
Colorado Shines is a quality rating and improvement system. Programs that come in as being licensed are at a level 1. Level 2, they're required to do 10 hours of trainings on the Colorado Shines Professional Development and Information System. And they have to do a self-assessment, and they also have to do a checklist to make sure that they're meeting specific criteria to meet that level 2. Then after level 2, they can move on to have a rating done, and that rating, depending on the score of that rating, they'll land somewhere between levels 3 and 5. And levels 3 through 5 is what the state of Colorado considers to be quality childcare. That's it in a nutshell. There's far more.
I know, seriously.
And
Councilmember Shea.
universal preschool, could you explain that program?
Sure, absolutely, and that's a separate side of what we do. So with the universal preschool that's launching very soon, the children are families are enrolling, children are being placed, they're accepting their matches. We have hundreds and hundreds of children who are being placed into UPK or universal preschool slots. We have both school districts in the city are participating, as well as we have child care homes who are participating, as well as child care centers. Mm-hmm. Children who are 4 years of age are eligible, just by being 4 by October 1, are eligible for 15 hours of free care per week. Some of those children based on the fact that they have income, low income, and one other of the determining factors are eligible for 30 hours. So 89 children in Pueblo are eligible for 30 hours of paid care per week. I'm in the process of contacting those families because they've already enrolled or already accepted a placement at a location that doesn't offer that full day funding opportunity or placement. So I need to move them to a location that does offer that full day care.
Can I ask you, how many of your clients receive subsidized daycare?
I don't have those numbers. That's through the Department of Human Services. And I have no idea what their current caseload is for that. I do know we have 56 programs that contract with the department to provide licensed programs to provide that support for families, but I don't know how many families are enrolled.
So 56 out of how many programs? do you have?
122.
And, because I'm wondering, is the state putting in towards your because you're administrating daycare, right, for the community?
We help connect families to childcare. We do not license them, but we help them through the process and working closely with our licensing our inspectors. And we also help help programs improve the quality. Those are the pieces of childcare that we do.
And those are they for private daycare?
They're for all licensed providers, as well as those who want to move from being unlicensed to providing licensed childcare. And we do those services, not just in Pueblo, but 10 additional counties in Southeast Colorado.
And how are you going to be sustainable after your ARPA funds are depleted?
We're continuing to move on. We are completely grant funded. So we are constantly writing grants to the state, foundation grants, to be able to continue doing the work that we do.
Okay, thank you, Angie.
Thank you.
And how long has Children First been in existence?
Children First has been in existence since the early 90s.
Yeah.
So we're here to stay.
Well, that was really great data. And I'm super excited to see all of that data. Can you talk a little bit, Angie, Ms. Shehorn, about like the referral system online? How can how do families find, or what filters do they use to find childcare that best fits them?
Absolutely. So Children First Childcare Connections, or childrenfirstco.org, is a web-based program, and families simply can either go in, put in their child's information, the ages of the child that they're searching for care for, and do a customized search, filtering it for the location of town, the level of quality, whether or not they accept CCAP, if they want homes instead of centers, if they want preschools. There's a lot of ways they can filter that down, or they can simply log on and just look at all the providers that there are. We also do weekly vacancy checks with every one of the providers in Pueblo to find out who has vacancies so that we can input that into that database so parents are getting real-time data. On that website, it offers a green check mark for those programs that have a vacancy based on the ages of the children that their parent is searching for care for. You can also search within Pueblo if you're using the transit system. It will tell you from point A to point B what number bus you have to ride and where you need to get on it.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ms. Shehorn, for that
Absolutely.
presentation. Very
Absolutely.
uplifting.
Thank you so much.
Then our last agenda item is hearing about another PCC program around sewing, STEM, PEAK, and painting courses. So can I have Ms. Quorum to the podium?
Good evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present. I do have a quick presentation, but first of all, I just want to thank you for providing the opportunity to support job seekers, developing the skills of our community members, existing employees to help them move up in their career ladder, and then supporting both small businesses as well as primary employers in our community through 4 separate funding opportunities that we did receive. Trying to be really good fiscal agents of our funding, we also have secured additional funding to support these projects, and so the ARPA funds are being used in these projects as the last funding. So using other funding and trying to be very fiscally responsible for the activities that we're conducting. So the first one is industrial painting. This is an opportunity that we have been trying to secure funding for to develop industrial painters. It was something that I hadn't even heard about until hearing from what was the employer Vestas at the time, that there is a real need and it's a real talent to be an industrial painter. So through this funding, we have been able to more closely partner with now what is CS Wind to help develop the talent in a pipeline for positions that they have open in their industrial painting area. We have, with those funds, been able to purchase, identify and purchase an industrial paint simulator, which is different than what we've taught in the past at Pueblo Community College with auto body, more of a small scale, where this is a very large scale, and so helping those individuals to learn the skills that they can use in these available positions. We also are partnering with CS Wind to use their subject matter experts to develop a curriculum that will help to touch all of the pieces and skills that an individual would need to enter employment at CS Wind, as well as other employers in the community. The skills are transferable and so can be used in powder coating skills as well as other painting venues and opportunities. Let's see. The next one is industrial sewing, and as you are all probably aware, we just had a recent announcement through PEDCO of an employer that is moving to Pueblo that actually does industrial sewing. I think it was a perfect storm, and super excited for Foam Core that has just recently come to Pueblo. But this is also an opportunity for individuals who want to have it or who have an entrepreneurial spirit. So partnering with our Small Business Development Center, we have been able to purchase equipment and to set up a classroom and lab on campus that's now dedicated for these individuals. We also were able to purchase curriculum and provide training to one for Train the Trainer. For our pilot class that started just this last month, we had several individuals who were interested in the training program, and we were able to fully, not through these funds, but through additional funding that we found. So no cost to these individuals who are looking to build their own businesses. And now we have one that's very interested in working for Foam Core when they do come finish their facilities and launch. And so we currently have 5 individuals that are regularly attending training for industrial sewing. And we also have a large need for individuals who are designers to develop individuals with the skills with industrial sewing who can do this type of work, as it's kind of a dying art in Colorado as well as the US. And so we've had some other opportunities to partner and have discussions with individuals on how can we continue to expand and grow this program. PEAK, or our Place for Education and Academic Knowledge, we have been able to launch our Soft Skills Academy. We have classes scheduled through December utilizing these funds, as well as had a lot of time to work with the Colorado Energy Office as well to identify opportunities. I think our biggest goal in this program is to develop a hub, a regional hub, or even a state hub for Colorado to bring individuals to Pueblo to take training for weatherization. The model that we are using is the Santa Fe College that has their Smart Energy Training Academy. And so we've been in contact with them as well as other state officials that are helping us to get connected to subject matter experts in curriculum. To date, we've used our matching funds. This is one that we did have matching funds on as well. And so we've leveraged our matching funds to start with, and then we'll continue expending funds to train individuals in weatherization as well as our Soft Skills Academy. And then finally, STEM, we have awarded 11 student scholarships in CDL, construction. We did have one person who was entrepreneurial and wanted to develop their own wedding planning business, as well as paralegal training as well. We continue to see a huge need in some of these areas in Pueblo for CDL drivers, construction, as well as other programs, and we plan to expend the remaining funds for these this fall. We know that it's possible. We just expended another opportunity that we had available through June 2023, and have, once again, first use, trying to use other funding to maximize the use of these funds as well. And we'll work on awarding scholarships. I just went through a folder full of applications for these scholarships for programming, and I think I had 25 individuals who are seeking scholarships for non-credit training programs through these STEM funds. And so with that, that's kind of a high-level overview. I welcome any questions, and once again, thank you for the opportunity to build these programs and serve our community.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Quorum, for that presentation. Questions from council? I am a little bit, I'm not concerned, but can you tell me a little bit about, so for the peak funds, you've only expensed about 3%. Can you help me understand that?
Certainly. So as I mentioned before, we're expending that's the one grant that we did have matching, like a matching portion, and so we've expended all the matching portion to do our legwork and our due diligence on what programming we should pursue. There's multiple certifications or credentials that folks in weatherization pursue, and so we've done some investigation, some discussions statewide with professionals on which is the best program. One is BPI, Building Performance Institute, and the other one is IREC credentialing, and IREC is the one that's less available, and so that's the one that we are continuing to pursue. And the other challenge that we had in the very beginning was identifying a subject matter expert. And so we've, over the last quarter, we were able to identify those key stakeholders and SMEs that will be able to help us to develop the curriculum and launch that academy.
Other questions for PCC? Seeing Ms. Lano?
Before Ms. Quorum leaves, we did our homework that City Council asked us to do, and I don't know where the county is on this, but the direction that you asked me to do was to reach out and see what the HSPPR's request of City Council would be to split a $30,000, 50% with the county and 50% with the city, to offer through PCC their vet assistance program. In talking to Executive Director Quorum and Dean Sherman, and President Erjavik, they're all back there now. We did our research, and the $30,000, or the city's $15,000, would help support a 8 credit hour non-credit, so it not works study eligible, financial aid eligible. It is an 8 credit hour requirement, and each hour of tuition is a cost of $280. For one student, the cost would be $2,241, and the $30,000 would support 13 students. The curriculum is created, and the tuition costs would cover instruction. How'd I do?
Very good. I think you did say this, it actually is for credit. It's what we call a mini certificate, so it's not financial aid eligible, so students who want to take the program would not be able to receive federal financial aid for it, but they do get credit for it, and it does lead to a PCC transcripted credential certificate.
And it is the entry level. It is not a vet tech. It is a vet assistance. I don't know where the county is on this. I have a meeting with the county manager on Thursday. This wasn't an agenda item, but I can certainly add it if that's the direction from council.
I see a lot of head shaking. Councilor Graham, Councilor Atencio, I'm a yes. Councilor Flores.
Yes, it's a yes.
Councilor Maestri, yes. If you can add that as the agenda item so we can start working on that, I think that would be really great, especially because timing is of the essence.
It likely is eligible for ARPA, is another program, and we'll go back. I'll circle back with the city attorney, with Bob, Wednesday morning in our ARPA meeting. Oh, we don't meet until next Wednesday. Yeah, the mayor's gone out of state this week.
Councilor Flores?
Is there, with the vet program, would there be some sort of guarantee that we'd be providing the education and that they would be working at HSPPR, or we can't do that?
So The Humane Society of the Pikes Peak region has actually facilitated conversations with multiple clinics in Pueblo and the surrounding communities, and the program would develop individuals to support positions that are open in all of those organizations, as well as the Humane Society. Once again, it is an entry-level position. There is a pathway from assistant to tech. That's not a program that Pueblo Community College currently has, but the classes that are in the program do align to other community colleges in the state. That would lead to that technician. And so really the employer partner on this would be multiple employers, and what we would ask of the employers is to have a little bit of buy-in for those individuals who successfully complete the program to guarantee interviews, because we want to get them into employment. And so, but it would be multiple employers that would have the opportunity to meet with the individuals who complete the program.
Thank you.
Councilor Atencio?
Yeah, the most important part is we're providing entry-level people in there, and then they could definitely move up, and I'm sure they probably would, so. Yeah,
and it's an opportunity for them to learn about the multiple pathways that are in animal care, and so it gets their foot in the door, and then hopefully these employers would really work with the students who want to pursue
the whole
additional
effort
education.
is worth it, because that entry level, that foot in the door is the most important part.
Councilor Maestri?
Just out of curiosity, where is the nearest vet tech educational program?
In Colorado Springs.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Fantastic. So even we're finishing with action steps tonight. So thank you, Ms. Coram. Thank you for that update. Seeing no other agenda items, then I conclude this work session at 7:21.
Recording stopped.